Night. Thanks very much, Ness. All right, Josh Frydenberg is the Assistant Treasurer. A whole lot of things to talk about with him, but a spectacular thing happened today, which is the Labor Party's idea, they snuck in very late in their term, was that they came up with a system where after 3 years, if you had money in a bank account, the government would just take it. Gone. Now, you, if you worked this out, would have to spend months and months and endless paperwork trying to get it back from the government. But essentially, the government just thought, well, we can do this. It made them $500 million. Today, that system has been scrapped. That system will only kick in now at 7 years, and there's a very big, very important exemption, especially for people who put money aside for their kids. Josh Frydenberg is the Assistant Treasurer. We spoke moments ago.
Great to be with you, Paul.
Now, well done. I think this was a hit out of the park. It was a long time coming, but it is perhaps one of the real marks of a government that gets it, is that no longer will, if you have money in a bank account, will the government be able to steal it after 3 years.
Absolutely right. In a desperate bid for a budget surplus back in 2012, Bill Shorten, as the Minister for Financial Services, changed the rules around unclaimed monies. You see, money that was in inactive bank accounts for 7 years would then transfer to the Commonwealth. Well, Bill Shorten reduced it from 7 years down to 3 years, and it really inconvenienced thousands of people. In fact, 156,000 bank accounts worth more than $550 million transferred in that first year that Labor changed the rules. And so we have been determined, since coming back to office, to take it back to 7 years where it was, which is also the recommendation of the Financial Systems Inquiry led by David Murray.
So with that scenario, can you help us out here? Is that, will you be improving the system that say if you set up a bank account for your kid, or I did it for mine, or somebody watching us now set something up as a gift for a grandkid, niece, nephew, is that after 7 years, that the bank or the government or ASIC, will somebody get in touch with you to say, oi, do something with this in the next 30 days, or there's a chance the money could go? Because let's be honest, there will be a lot of people who might get forgetful, and we don't want them to go through the process of having to prove that it's their money after it's been taken.
Absolutely. Well, 2 points there. Firstly, we recognise a lot of people put money away for their child, to buy their first car, to pay for their university fees, or whatever the case may be. And so we have actually exempted children's bank accounts, that is, those people under the age of 18, from the unclaimed monies regime. So that money just can't be taken by a government if it relates to somebody under the age of 18. I think that's a really important improvement. The second thing is, it's up to now the banks to be telling individuals when they're approaching the 7 year time frame, but also people can approach the government any time after that 7 years and recoup their money. And the evidence is about half the number of people with unclaimed monies actually ask for that money back, and half never do.
What I love here is that, this was red hot. This was stealing money to prop up a bad budget, a budget, of course, that we're still dealing with to this day, and I'll talk about that in a second with you. But, Bill Shorten's, this is his great, year of ideas. Well, this was an idea he had when he was in government, and I love that their response today is not, okay, fine, fair enough, we learnt our lesson, we don't steal money from kids' bank accounts, is that they've turned around and said, well, no, this is still a bad idea, because if something stays in there after 3 years, apparently the logic is that to prevent you from losing money via fees in years 3, 4, 5 and 6, it's better for the government to take all of the money rather than the bank takes a bit.
Well, look, this is a philosophical divide between us and the Labor Party. They believe your money is the government's money. We believe your money is actually your money, and the government has no right to that money. That's a big difference. And in fact, groups like the National Seniors, the Council of Ageing, consumer banking groups have all come out today and very strongly endorsed what the government has done. I think this is a very significant initiative. It's led the front pages around the country, and it will actually see money returned to people which otherwise would have been in the hands of government and would have been used by the Labor Party, as you say, to rush to an invisible surplus which never eventuated.
Now, as you know, I love calling out the gallery games, the press gallery at their worst today. This affects thousands of people, $500 million, one question about it. Instead, they're trying to paint you guys into a corner, essentially saying that the government is no longer going to do big things, they're only going to do small things. But of course, they want you to do the big things because you'll end up losing all the time, which means we go through the same crap of the past few months.
Absolutely, and welcome to the Canberra Press Gallery, Paul. That's why you reside in Sydney. But
Yes.
the reality is, what the Prime Minister said today is the glass is half full. You know, we've passed nearly 80% of our budgetary measures. If you look at the intergenerational report, it actually says, as a result of our legislated changes, not our proposed changes, our legislated changes, government debt will be half of what it was under Labor in the next 40 years, but there's still a long way to go. And we have around $30 billion worth of savings that are stuck now in the Senate, including $5 billion worth of savings that Labor took to the last election that are now refusing to pass. And the blowtorch really needs to be turned to Bill Shorten. He famously said in a radio interview, in a television interview, that if you don't know where you're going, or any road will get you there. And that basically sums up his approach. He has no narrative, he has no direction, he certainly has no policy ideas. He's not explaining how he can actually fund some of their programs, whereas we're actually trying to bring the budget back into surplus over time and to point the economy in the right direction. So we're doing the heavy lifting, they're ignoring the reality of the mess that they left us.
Hallelujah, great to hear. That's why we like talking to the ministers direct and unfiltered. Last one here. Did you seriously say in the party room yesterday that there are certain companies, the top 700 companies, their tax records shouldn't be made public because the kids of the executives of those companies may become kidnap risks? Please tell me you didn't actually say that.
Well, Paul, we're not going to go into what happened in the party room, but let me explain to you actually this legislation that the Labor Party passed. All the information relating to companies that have an income over $100 million is already in the possession of the tax office. So that is the tax payable, the total income and the taxable income. Now, what Labor has said is that information should all be made public. Now, they haven't done that in order to make any more revenue, because it won't make a jot of difference to the revenue. But what they have done is to try to put those people's names out there, to name and shame them effectively, and to target them because they happen to be running successful companies.
Okay,
now,
but it's not going to create a kidnapping risk. Come on, I mean, it's not that hard. You can get the BRW rich list and work out who's got money.
Well, what this information, some of that information related to private companies, Australian companies, not talking here about multinationals and publicly listed companies, private companies that are Australian companies, that information should be in the possession of the tax office. But what is to actually be benefited by having that information in the public domain? There is a personal security risk and there's also a commercial risk, because one of our concerns is that if you're a company that's a major supplier to another company and that's your major customer, then that company could actually start to work out what your margins are, what your profitability is, etc., and then to use that against you. So there are real issues here, both of a commercial nature and a personal nature, which governments need to take into account. Labor rushed this through. There wasn't proper consultation. It's been opposed by large segments of the community, and we think there should be reform, and we'll have more to say about that in due course.
Assistant Treasurer, always great to talk to you, both privately and publicly. We'll do so again very soon.
Thanks, Paul. Happy to be on and look forward to next time.
Good man and knows the issues well and truly. Quick break back with our panel who also know the issues, and two of the three are very good men. More in a sec.